Hi, I'm Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy Segment Show. Also today in this segment, I'm at the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona, and continuing episode 4 with part 3. What you see right behind me is Kennecott Copper Company 528. Kennecott Copper Corp 528 was built by Differential Car Company in Findlay, Ohio, likely somewhere in the 1920s, and is a side dump gondola car. For many years, this car was used to haul rocks and ballast for railroad construction and maintenance, but wasn't designed for hauling copper ore. The tilting bed of this car can be actuated by compressed air to tip to either side for dumping the load along the tracks. Then it was retired and sat in the dead line for years. In 2015, it was donated to the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona by Jake Jacobson, where it is seen today. Also, it could not be moved to the museum by rail due to friction-bearing axles. Instead, it was moved to the museum by truck and lifted and lowered by crane. In 2021, it was repainted and looking good as new as well. Today, it can be seen on display at the museum where it is preserved today. What you see right behind me is Tucson, Cornelia, and Gila Bend 15. Tucson, Cornelia, and Gila Bend 15 was built by the Tucson, Cornelia, and Gila Bend Railroad in 1944 and is a wooden caboose. It served the Phelps Dodge copper mine in Ao, Arizona. It was originally painted in the present color when used by the Tucson, Cornelia, and Gila Bend Railroad and used for freight service on the railroad. It was also used for numerous years to provide passenger service between Gila Bend and Ao, and the slide doors allow for freight loading on one end. Also, it was then repainted red with the cupola painted yellow and likely renumbered 1. Then later on it was retired, and in 2006 it was donated to the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona by the Phelps Dodge Copper, and then in 2012 it was being repainted and likely finished in 2013. In 2020 the paint was sanded in many certain spots, and it soon got a new coat of paint as well. And the project was finished in 2021. Today, the car can be seen preserved at the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona, where it can be seen today. What you see right behind me is the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Verde Valley. The Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Verde Valley was built by Pullman Standard in 1942 and is a 664 sleeper car. This car features 6 sections, 6 roomettes, and 4 double bedrooms. Originally, the car was named for Pullman as Pullman Verde Valley. It is named for the well-watered valley in northern Arizona. It was sold to the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad and kept the name. It was used on passenger trains for the railroad as well. It often saw service on the California Limited, which ran between Chicago and Los Angeles, California, but through Kansas City, Missouri, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Flagstaff, Arizona. After World War II, it was assigned to the California Special and ran from Houston, Texas to Los Angeles, California. In 1968, the California Special was discontinued and the car was then donated to the Gulf Coast chapter of the NRHS, and they continued to run the car until Amtrak made it unsuitable. In 2015, the car was donated to the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona by the Houston Railroad Museum and Gulf Coast chapter. It also may have been spray painted during transfer to the site. In 2017, it was parked in the Union Pacific Houston yard and was damaged by Hurricane Harvey in Texas. Then, a few weeks later, it was moved to the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona. It was eventually repaired and repainted and looking good as new. Today, it is seen on display at the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona, where it is preserved today. What you see right behind me is Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 543. Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 543 was built by the Budd Company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1964 and is a high-level passenger coach. This car was used on the San Francisco Chief Passenger Train on the railroad. It was used to carry passengers on board for a number of years when used by the railroad. In 1971, it was sold to Amtrak and renumbered 9917. Then it was renumbered 39917. It was used on Amtrak passenger trains as well. Later on, it was retired and sat in storage. Then in 2019, it was acquired by the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona, and it was soon restored to its Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe look as well. Today, it is seen on display at the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona, where it is today. What you see right behind me is Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 708. Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 708 was built by the Budd Company in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1956 and is a high-level passenger coach. This car was used on the El Capitan passenger train on the railroad. It was used to carry passengers on board for a number of years when used by the railroad. In 1971, it was sold to Amtrak and renumbered 9948. Then it was renumbered 39948. It was used on Amtrak passenger trains as well. Later on, it was retired and sat in storage. Then, in 2019, it was acquired by the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona, and it was soon restored to its Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe look as well. Today, it is seen on display at the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona, where it is today. Okay, you could see right here is a Trackmobile built in Harvey, Illinois by the Corp. This car was likely used for probably the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, or maybe the Santa Fe Railroad. It says Zephyr on it, and probably Western Pacific or Southern Pacific, but who knows. But yeah. It later was acquired by the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, but here it is today, and they sometimes use this to move their equipment, their exhibits, which is their train cars and locomotives around. Okay, here's another Whitting Trackmobile that was also built by Whitting Corp in Harvey, Illinois, and it's been part of the collection for a number of years, and also they sometimes use it to move their display pieces, locomotives, and cars around as well. And here it is at the museum today. I wonder what railroad this one could have been used for. It's probably unknown, but yeah. What you see right behind me is Kennecott Copper Company 81. Kennecott Copper Company 81 was built by the Plymouth Locomotive Works in Plymouth, Ohio in 1949 and is the 5490th diesel locomotive built by that factory and is a 20-ton JLB type diesel locomotive. It was in service at the smelter in Hayden, Arizona and worked primarily for Ray Consolidated Copper. When the mine operation was purchased by Kennecott Copper Corp, the locomotive was then relettered for that company and renumbered 81. It may have been possible this locomotive was renumbered 881. The mine shops extended the cab on the engineered side by approximately 18 inches. Also, it was likely for better visibility. The original motor was removed and replaced with a Cummins diesel engine and Allison transmission, which connected to the original manual gearbox. It was likely then used by American Smelting and Refining Company, and it was repainted white. Then, in 2015, it was donated to the Arizona Railway Museum by J. Chris Fall, who retired from American Smelting and Refining Company, and it was moved to the museum by truck, and it was still painted white when it arrived. In 2021, it was repainted to being orange. Then it was soon fired up and came back to life as well, and repairs took about 18 months. It is even sometimes seen operating as well and likely used to help move equipment around on the grounds as well. What you see right behind me is the Pullman Federal. The Pullman Federal was built by Pullman in 1911 and is a business car. Originally, the car was named for Pullman as Pullman Federal. In 1933, it was sold to the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western Railroad and was renumbered 98. It was then renamed Pocono. For many years, this car was used on the back of passenger trains on the railroad and used by railroad executives as well. Then, in 1961, the Erie Railroad merged with the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western and became the Erie-Lackawanna. Later, the Erie-Lackawanna sold the car to Ringling Brothers, and it was used on the circus train and kept the number. Then, it was bought by a private owner, which it is also based at the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona, when it isn't out on the tracks as well. It was given a reporting mark and number as PPCX 800,713 and repainted in a Baltimore and Ohio paint scheme. Today, it is usually based here at the Arizona Railway Museum in Chandler, Arizona, and sometimes it is coupled onto Amtrak passenger trains as well. Well, I hope you all enjoyed learning about trains with me today in Matthew Lapp Train Guy segment show. Also, I hope to see you all again in the next segment, and if you didn't subscribe to the channel yet, please be sure to. And the subscribe button is just below the video screen, and also, if you didn't give my Facebook page a like yet, here's where you can find it, as well as the Instagram page. Be sure to follow it as well, only if you didn't yet. And also, please be sure to get your merch at Teesprings, and all the links to Facebook, Instagram, and Teesprings is in the description box below. And remember to subscribe to the Train Guy. So this is Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy segment show, signing out until next time. All aboard!